Hello there, everyone, and welcome to episode 94 of the Play to Win podcast. My name is Tyler. I'm your host, of course, as always. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Tyler. My dude, how is it going with you? How are you doing this week?
It's going. We haven't played. I mean, I played some video games this last week. I still don't feel like it was enough, but we haven't played a ton. But then it's fine because the news has us covered.
Yeah, I haven't played a bunch of games either. I've been playing the game of life, though. That's the game I've been playing this
Yeah,
week.
exactly.
Trying to make it through
Same.
life. Trying to make it through life. Trying to make
Yeah.
moves on the board of life. We're making some moves. We're making some moves there, bit by bit.
And Nintendo said, we got your back. We're gonna announce some shit, and we're gonna, which everyone's losing their minds. We'll get into that, but like people are acting like we got a megaton announcements, and we got like a really cool announcement and a bunch of stuff we already knew existed. So I don't get it.
Yeah. It was kind of mad. It was kind of mad. But like you said, we'll get into that in a moment. Before we get into that, remember, subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. Hit 5-star review if you're on podcast services. Greatly appreciated. Helps out a lot. If you're on YouTube, like the video, comment as well, and share the show and hit the notification bell. All that stuff. Hit that notification bell. That way you know as soon as new episodes and other videos go live. It's nice to be the first one there. It's been a while since I feel like we as a society moved on from people commenting first in the comment section. And sometimes I think that was a mistake. Sometimes, I miss looking back on that, just going into a comment section, seeing someone saying first and like seeing 5 people say it. Sometimes I miss it. So bring that back. Hit that notification bell so you now and 10 other people could all do it.
Now it's just you suck or some kind of slur. I don't know.
Right. It's just a bunch of memes in comment sections now. Let's bring back the first.
Shorts is one of the easier platforms for sure to get a lot of views on. But dog, there is no worse fucking anxiety than the second you have like a video go semi-viral and you're just like the fucking comments. You're just like waiting for you're like, oh man, how bad is this gonna get?
And I'm happy that has not happened over here on our end yet. Very happy it hasn't happened like that here.
Yeah. It's the good with the bad. You're happy that you're going viral, but you're like, oh man, is this gonna end up like I had one where I was like, fine, I don't think this is gonna be bad. Then I had another one where I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad.
this is gonna be a dumpster fire over here.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good. Oh boy. All right, let's talk about this week. This week on the Play to Win podcast, we're going to be talking about, like we said, that Nintendo Direct. That's going to lead into a conversation about the future of the Switch. Really, it's really a Nintendo heavy episode, if you can't tell already. And then, if there's time, we should have time for this. We're going to talk about remakes. Okay, we are going to do this last week. We'll do it this week now. Talk about some remakes that we would like to see happen in some way, shape, or form.
We would have had great timing too with if it had been last week, because
oh yeah,
I don't know if you remember this. I forget if we did this on the pod or not, but I showed that Metroid figure because I was like, yeah, I think I might have picked Prime, and then we literally got the fucking announcement days later.
Well, you can't do that one now. Sorry about that. But they heard
I know.
You.
Now
they heard
like,
you.
Well, you got it. Pick something else.
Nintendo, here's what happened.
Yeah, they
Nintendo saw the episode, or they heard the episode, and then they said, we got you in 2 days, fam. You know what? Throw that in there just for him. Just for him. Let's talk about the Direct.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do a full recap of the Direct like we kind of normally would for like other state of plays, other
there's a lot.
That there's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff announced too.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff announced. It was a 40-minute Direct, but it was a pretty meh Direct overall. Like, it wasn't that hype in my opinion. Like, there was hype going into it for sure, and then coming out of it, it was like, okay, that was fine. There were some cool things here or there, but for the most part, it was just okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great by any means, in my opinion.
I think it crosses over the mediocre territory just a bit. So to me, I was like, we're gonna get Zelda. So I wasn't, my expectations were not the way some people's were, right? Like, to be fair, Nintendo didn't announce a ton. They kind of gave us the first half qualifier. So In
Yeah.
my head, I'm like, there's only so much they can announce. So I'm like, Zelda and probably shit I don't care about, right? That's my mindset. And then they gave me Metroid Prime, which was good, and to me crosses the threshold of like expectation of 5 essentially to like maybe a 6, 6.5, because I do. It's not like a new game. It's something we knew about the existence of. It makes a lot of logical sense though. But yeah, to me, it's like people acting like, oh, and maybe that just speaks to me not caring about kind of that filler, that like other stuff. But and also just expecting Tears of the Kingdom. I'm like, what are we talking about here, guys? That was like, if they didn't show up with that, I was rioting. Like, what do you mean? You don't just drop it's our first half shit and then not have Tears of the Kingdom. So
Exactly, exactly. Let's start going through some of these highlights though. So the first
whatever. I
highlight,
pre-ordered the amiibo. It looks sick.
yes, the amiibo does look cool. The amiibo does look cool. We'll get to that though. We'll get to that though when we get talk about all about the Zelda stuff at
Yeah,
the
I
end.
think we're having a little internet issue. So if anybody's having some issue, it's on our end, not yours. Sorry. There's
Yes.
like a lag, I think, because I said that like 10 seconds before you responded to it.
No, yeah, yeah. I feel like there is an internet thing. My internet likes to be just like sometimes it's great, and then other days it'll be like, yeah, we're gonna be bad for just like a 3 days straight, and I'm just like,
Like it's one
I
of
don't
those
understand
episodes.
why. It's like my internet just like decides to wake up on the wrong side of the bed one day, and then it's just like in a bad mood for like the rest of the week. I don't know why. So that's what I've been dealing with for the past couple of days. But hopefully it's hopefully we're able to get through this mostly problem free. But apologies though if there are any issues on
What you're saying is you're the kind of
receiving
person
that.
I need to blame for my MW2 lobbies being awful sometimes.
Probably, yeah. I wouldn't say kind of against that. Maybe. Haven't played it in a while though. So if you've had any bad lobbies, it definitely has not been me. Um, all right, let's actually talk about this direct though. First highlight that I have here, also the first game in the direct, Pikmin 4. We got actual gameplay, not just like, some environment shots, actual gameplay. Uh, you know, I'll describe it here. I've never played a Pikmin game. I'm not a Pikmin person, but it looked like more Pikmin with some new changes, some new features. So, you're landing on a place that basically is Earth, essentially. You're using your Pikmin as you normally would in a Pikmin game. You got your red Pikmin, and then there was a ice Pikmin, which I think is new for the series. I don't know if it is, but it seemed like it was new. Using the ice Pikmin to freeze some enemies, freeze water to get across the water. There's a weird dog type companion that I think is named Otachi that like can destroy obstacles and move enemies around and actually like carry you across the water. It looks like there are dungeons with boss fights now. It seems like it'll be a cool new Pikmin game of some sort. And we got a release date. It's coming this year, pretty soon, I should say, on July 21st. Uh, are you a Pikmin person? Did this do anything for you?
So, it's funny. Literally, as we started this up and I relooked at it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's probably why it was whatever to me because I'm not a Pikmin person. And so I feel like I don't even consider this an announcement or like a thing really because like it didn't even register. I forgot about it because I do not care about Pikmin. And that's not to say Pikmin's a bad franchise, nothing like that. Just not my thing. From everything I've seen, it's like, and I've as I've gotten older, I've definitely got better at expanding my taste in games. Like there's, we talked about last week with Vampire Survivors, the stuff that I didn't think I'd maybe ever be up my alley that has become. And so like I'd be willing to try this if I got a code, but having to go out and spend 60, or I don't know if this one was announced as a $70 one.
No, it is 60.
But okay, yeah, but even going out and spending $60, it's just like man, that's a lot. You know what I mean? And Nintendo games don't go on sale. So it's like it's hard with Nintendo franchises to just be like, oh, maybe I'll dabble. There's no Game Pass, there's no sales. So you've got to be like, well, I'm willing to flush $60 down the toilet if you want to try a Nintendo franchise. And so for
Yeah.
me, it's like Pikmin it just seems like it's kind of boring to me.
I can see that. For me, I don't think it's that it's ever seemed boring. It's just the gameplay style has never really appealed to me that much because it seems like a different type of RTS in a sense. It has like some RTS elements to it. And I've never like been into RTSs. The most I was into an RTS was watching my uncle's friend play StarCraft 2 on his laptop like in 2009, 2010. And I was like, oh man, this seems like so much fun. But I don't know if I would ever want to play it, but it seems like so much fun. Whereas Pikmin, it just never really intrigued me in that way. But again, like you said, like that's no shade to the series or anything like that. I don't think it's like a bad series or
Yeah.
bad games. It's just never appealed to me. But I mean, again, it looks like it's gonna be it looks like it could be a good Pikmin game. Again, it looks like more of what Pikmin fans would expect from the series, plus some new additions to spice things up, make things more interesting. So, good showing. Good showing. Great way. I
Yeah.
feel like it was a good way to start the show off, in my opinion, like with that game right there. Second highlight that I have here is Bayonetta Origins. And we were both down on this game the last time we saw it because we were like, what the heck even is this? This looks so weird. It looks kind of like budget Bayonetta. I mean, it is budget Bayonetta, but it looks like we have Bayonetta at home, and this is what you get instead of
Yeah.
the actual Bayonetta you want. I'm not gonna lie though. After watching this in the direct, I was like, actually, this looks like it could be pretty fun and pretty good. And I think that's because this time we saw more gameplay, more combat, and they explained the premise behind it more. So you're playing as Bayonetta, and she has her demon ally Cheshire with her, which is like this giant dog like thing. Uh, and when it comes to like you're playing as both of them in the world at the same time. So when you traverse the world, you're playing as Bayonetta with one stick and Cheshire with the other stick. And then when it comes to combat, you're still controlling both of them as well in combat, which made me think of the world ends with you immediately. And Bayonetta is only able to do support stuff in combat. Cheshire is the one that attacks. So like seeing how that worked and everything in the trailer, I was like, oh, this actually seems pretty cool and way more interesting than it did the very first time I saw it. So I'm actually looking forward to this. I don't think I'll be there
Yeah.
day one, but I'm looking forward to it way more now than I ever was before.
Yeah. So I'll be real. I just watched that trailer.
Yeah.
But what I will say is it does actually look pretty interesting. I like the visual style more than I think the trailer at Game Awards made me realize.
Yes.
Gameplay wise, it does look fun. This isn't a negative, right? But I do think what like the pitch on this game, I just feel like they're overselling how much Bayonetta fans care about the lore because that's not really the appeal. It's Bayonetta being badass and this empowering kind of female character, along with just like that Devil May Cry type, just character action game that's a lot of fun. And so again, this game looks interesting to me, but I don't know why you wouldn't just come up with like an interesting concept for it on its own because the gameplay does look interesting. I think the art style is cool. And I think people would play an indie game of this nature without tying it to Bayonetta. I like ultimately, if it's the right price, I may just play it anyways. But it's just a weird decision, I think, on that end for me.
Yeah. Looks cool though. Looking forward to it. March
Yeah,
17th.
it does look interesting. I may actually play it now. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
have Vampire Survivors going up against it. Kind of depends what I'm doing that week. But like I said, right price. If this is
Vampire
60 bucks,
Survivors. You meant Jedi Survivor?
Jedi Survivors. Sorry. But yeah, if it's like 20 bucks, I'll play it. If it's like 40, 50, 60, it's not happening. Like that'll be a sale game for sure.
I I don't know the exact price, but I'm betting it's like a $40 game at minimum.
Yeah, 40's tough.
Again, that's why I said I'm not there day one. I can see myself playing it down the road though sometime. Then we have Harmony, The Fall of Reverie, coming from Dontnod. It's a narrative adventure game, kind of visual novel esque. Uh, it's tough to describe this game, but I really liked the way it looks. You're playing as this character. I believe it's like the end of the world is on the horizon in some way, shape, or form. And there's branching narrative paths. There's all these different characters that you can interact with. Some of them are like gods and all. And you can get different endings. And I was really into this. It's got the soundtrack coming from the Celeste composer. And it's coming June of this year. It's a console launch exclusive on Switch. I don't know. I just really liked the look of this game. I think the art style did so much of the heavy lifting for me that I was able to like buy into the premise as well. What were you thinking of this one?
Um, yeah, I visually interesting, but visual novels, not really think my thing. Narrative adventures, like occasionally, like despite gushing about Doki Doki a couple weeks ago, it's generally not my
Yeah,
it's not my genre of choice, but I can like them. June, uh, and this is
That's a
the
tight
kind of
spot.
game for me where I'm like, I'm more enticed by like, oh, also there could be trophies, et cetera, if it had come out on PlayStation, but being Switch exclusive, or if
Mhm.
it's Game Pass, it's free, no harm, no foul. So this is one where I'm like, it might be overpriced since it's on Switch. I'm not gonna lie. I think some developers see Switch and go, yeah, we can charge more on that bad boy. And so for me, it's just like, I don't know. It looks visually interesting though. And I'm not crazy. I know Donut was doing a different game, is working on a different game as well. It was announced at Game Awards, but this is not the one. I double checked at that trailer and I was like, yeah, this is not what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, that one was man, I'm blanking on the name.
Yeah,
Oh
I'll just
god.
Google it real
It
quick.
had it had the name that you said was like what, like popped out a name generator or something like that. I think.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Something about spirits as well. I forgot what it was.
Banishers Ghost of New Eden. Yeah,
There you
100%.
go. There you go. That's what it was.
Oh my God. I can read that name 100 times and laugh every time.
It is a name of a video game.
Yeah, 100%.
Then another highlight here, which might maybe has some like bad omen vibes with it. Omega Strikers. It's an air hockey game essentially. Two teams of three. Each character is like a hero type character. You're able to knock people off the arena and all like that. Coming April 27th. It is free to play, and okay, I think it looks fun. It looks interesting. It looks cool. As I told you though, listening to Easy Allies, their post show rundown of everything when they got to this, they were like, yeah, it being free to play and all kind of gives me kind of worrisome vibes considering all the recent live service games that have been announced to be shut down in like the coming months. I was just like, yeah, this seems like it could go down the exact same path as well. Like it looks like it
Yeah,
could.
I think you have to question like, well, why do I want to get invested if this game might get pulled? And I especially it's a little interesting because looking at it, it's like, I mean, the elevator pitches it's air hockey windjammers. Like that's what it is, you know what I mean? With the over the top characters, with like that quick kind of gameplay and like being really an easy elevator pitch. So it's like just make that then. Like, why are you trying to make this a free to play online game? What the fuck, man? And I think it just does have reeks a little, not that the game seems bad, but it reeks a little bit of that, like, well, we want to be trending. We want to be like, you can't, like, it seemed like they shot for the higher ceiling and the lower floor than just like taking that middle ground of like, yeah, maybe you won't be number one trending one day if, best case scenario, but also the player base will be less hesitant because I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it pays off and it's successful. But yeah, I do think there's some hesitancy of, is this game gonna exist in a year? I like literally a year. As we've seen with
Shoot, will it
Rumbleverse
make it?
or
I was about to say 6 months because that Rumbleverse was a 6 months there. Will it make it 6 months?
yeah.
Shoot, I'm hoping though. I'm hoping it's good.
Fair question now.
Then we got
It looks cool, yeah.
yeah, it looks nice. Then we got ourselves a big update here for Nintendo Switch Online, a long awaited update for many people. Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games will be coming to the service. Game Boy games will be available for regular Switch Online. Advanced games will be available for the expansion pack part of Nintendo Switch Online. And they talked about a lot of games. Well, they showed a lot of games here. So for Game Boy games, at least the ones I was able to write down, we have Tetris, Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, Link's Awakening DX, Gargoyle's Quest, Game & Watch Gallery 3, Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare, Metroid 2, Return of Samus, Wario Land 3, Kirby's Dream Land, and then they also said that for each of the Game Boy games, you'll be able to play with either the Game Boy Pocket filter, the regular Game Boy filter, or the Game Boy Color filter over the games. And then they said more games are coming in the future. I only got to write down the Zelda Oracle games and the Pokemon trading card game, but there were others that they said will be coming in the future. As for Game Boy Advance, they said that the Minish Zelda, the Minish Cap will be there, Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3, WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games, Kuruin, I believe I pronounced that correctly, Mario Kart Super Circuit, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and they said that there will be local and online play for supported games. Other games that they still will be coming into in the future for Advance are Metroid Fusion, Fire Emblem, Golden Sun, and others. Again, I did not get a chance to write all them down, but this is all available right now. Does that get you excited that Game Boy and Advance games are coming
Uh,
to Switch Online?
I mean, like, if we have any viewers that care about gaps, they're just like, how many fucking gaps does this guy have? I'm not a big Game Boy person because, I mean, listen, I was like 6. No, I was like 8, but whatever. It was like, to me, my Game Boy Color was like a Pokemon machine, you know.
Yes.
And I get it. Like, it's weird because I think it feels like unless you were rich as a kid, you were either a console kid or you were a mobile kid. If you had both, like I was lucky enough to have both, but like realistically, when you're sitting here debating what you're going to ask your parents for, like there just wasn't a lot of mobile games that were ever going to win that fight outside of like Pokemon or the rare gift of like a random game I'd never played before. So for me, like there is stuff here like Jeff Gerstmann on his podcast, one of the ones I was listening to, was talking about Wario Land before this because I guess a newer game called like Pizza Tower or something like that. It's like a newer release indie game. Is in this style of Wario Land, and I didn't realize like, oh yeah, there's non-WarioWare games other than Wario World. So now like my interest is peaked, and I may go play something like that. Or as someone that never really played Metroid 2, kind of like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
I never played the mobile Zelda game. So those are all kind of like maybes, you know, like, oh, maybe I should dabble in that. But it's not like anything where I'm like, yeah, because I just don't have that attachment.
What about Advance? Is it the same for Advance or it's just
Oh, I didn't own an Advance. I
gotcha?
gave up on Nintendo Mobile pretty much, and the rare DS game I would play or 3DS game is because like I just knew someone, and so I just ended up playing it for a couple hours or you know. Um, I did have a PSP though, you know.
I wanted a PSP, never had one. No, yeah, I had a Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. My Game Boy Color, I mean, I was young when I had it, so I didn't have too many games, but I had like
I did have that sick purple one though, that transparent.
I know what you're talking about. I had a green one. I had the neon green Game Boy Color. But like the Game Boy games I had a I think I had a Mega Man game or two. I had Pokemon Red, I think, and then I had Silver and Crystal for Pokemon. There were some others I had, but I don't remember all of them. I think it was like a Spider-Man game I had for my Game Boy Color and all. But the Advance, like I had Sonic Advance 2, Pokemon Ruby and Emerald. I had a good number of Advance games. So I'm looking at this. I'm like, this is cool. Like, it's cool that they're coming. I'm wondering if they're going to add Pokemon games to this. Chances are, I feel like it's probably no, like mainline Pokemon games. I feel like it's going to be a
Yeah,
no, but if they do, that's going to be like huge whenever that
you have to
happens, if it
wonder why
ever
the fuck
does.
they're not, right? Like, come on, Nintendo. These things are like $100 to buy if you want the old games, or you have to figure out how to emulate things illegally, technically, whatever. I don't care about the ethics of that, is especially if Nintendo is going to be stubborn as hell and not just release it like everything else for $10 or on this service. But yeah, like, come on, man, you can't just give us some Game Boy or some Game Boy Pokemon games, like
I
not that
imagine
hard.
I imagine maybe it's because the Pokemon company would be like, yeah, no, you're not doing that. We don't want to put our games on the service. If we're going to put out the old games, we're going to have to buy them again.
Okay, but like if they were willing to just throw them out there for $10, I'm sure plenty of people like that'd be free money, and they're just like it'd be different if I thought Nintendo had those plans. I don't even think they have those plans. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Still cool. Nice additions there. I'm hoping that they update that consistently. Uh if they add Sonic Advance 2 in there, I might have to sub for the expansion because Sonic Advance 2. That was a really fun game. All right. Final
Yeah.
two big ones here for the direct. As you said earlier, Metroid Prime Remastered finally announced, released as well, shadow dropped that
Yeah.
same day. It's been rumored for God knows how many years at this point. Been rumored for the longest time, but finally here. Uh, it looks awesome. like visually, I've seen some screenshots and everything, and man, that is a step up from the GameCube version. Of course, GameCube to Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
are
it looks
you?
really good. I'm pumped. Like I'm playing it for sure. I was telling you pre-show, like, or no, I think I was even saying in the beginning, yeah, like I've got to wait for physical, unfortunately, because that's just who I am. And I'm not like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure the game's gonna be amazing, but I'm not double dipping on a remaster of $40 a piece. So it's just waiting till the 22nd to get a physical copy. But I'm excited. And I wish I had it. I wish the physical was out now so I could just play it and add it to my collection. Because I'm in that period where I'm like waiting for Atomic Heart to come out. And I'm just like, shit, it'd be great to just have some Metroid Prime to try out right now.
Yeah, I never played Metroid Prime. I actually had Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. I had that on the GameCube, and I was young, so like I played it a bit, but I was like, I don't get it. This is stupid, and I stopped playing it and never finished the game. So I do want to play Metroid Prime Remastered. Am I going to play it right now? No, because of time and other games I want to play and money. But
Yeah,
I am happy
to be
it's
clear,
out.
I've never played it.
Okay, interesting, interesting. So yeah, it'll be nice for you to go back into it and see like, all right,
It's just,
what everyone was enjoying about it.
yeah, it just always seemed like a very me game as an adult. So I'm like, and I've wanted to play it. But the last time I considered buying it was at a reasonable price, and then GameCube games shot through the roof, and I don't know why. Just because retro is ridiculous right now, pricing wise. So it's like, oh well.
Yeah. Hopefully I can get it. Hopefully I'll play it sometime soon. It's looking cool. Maybe release a remaster of 2 and 3 at some point. Nintendo
That's
do that.
according to Grubb. They have all three, and he wasn't 100% confident about the releasing of them together, but like I imagine they have them ready to go, and they're just gonna, they'll. I wouldn't be surprised if they stealth drop them all like this.
That's probably what they're gonna do whenever they feel like, all right, we need some more money. All right, pop out the next Metroid game. Drop it
They're
for like
going. His
20.
quarters looking a little light. Just Metroid remaster, Metroid 2.
They're like, huh, it's a month before the fiscal quarter's over. We're kind of down on profits. Put out Metroid 2. Do that. Thank you. All right.
Yeah,
Ready to talk about the big boy here?
yeah. I. It's funny. I feel like what was shown. Obviously, we were talking about Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I think that. I mean, this is basically what I expected. It was like a 2.5, 3 minute trailer. We got some gameplay. I don't feel like we got like as much gameplay as I wanted, but I'm sure there'll be another direct at some point, which that's fine.
Yeah.
And I think so. I was saying, sorry, because like I have to re-record this after my initial thoughts because we had some internet issues, but I was basically, to paraphrase, some people are like really obsessive about every single little detail. They want to see it all. Some people radio dark. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't need to see everything, and I'm a little vibes based as far as like I just want to see what's going on in the game, kind of like a more general idea. And so I think we got some of that. It just, I mean, it feels like Breath of the Wild with different mechanics, and hopefully the story's going to be a little like it seems like timeline wise, I'm not a Zelda lore expert by any means, but some people are saying it might be the last game, like in the timeline, the canon and everything. So that'd
Yeah.
be cool. I mean, obviously, it will not be the last Zelda game, but it'd be interesting because I could have sworn I thought Breath of the Wild was like earlier in the timeline, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe
I
this
don't
is like
know either.
thousands of years later. I don't know. The Zelda timeline's fucking impossible.
Yeah. I don't follow the timeline. And
But
like,
yeah, neither do I. I'm like, I don't know. Um, but like none of the gameplay mechanics that they've shown are like, oh, it's like it seems like natural stuff they would just add in, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I'm like, I'm still excited, of course. Breath of the Wild, still my favorite game of all time. I don't My expectation is that this will not be better because of Breath of the Wild being the first. And the improvements so far seem like I don't know if they'll be big enough to like make it to ever get over that emotional investment and that nostalgia. But we'll see. Like I of course want it to be. I'm still very excited for it. I'm just like not going in thinking it'll be my favorite game ever because I feel like it's a bad mentality to go into with the sequel. You're just hoping for something that's at least similar and will, be a lot of fun, but ultimately will that live up to your memories? So the first one, which is now your favorite, it's hard to
Yeah.
surpass those expectations.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same mindset of you as you here, where after the trailer, I was like, yo, I'm so hyped. I'm more hyped than I ever have been for the game. And I think that's due in part to the fact that one, the music for this game is sounding amazing. Like, and so like they're using it in the trailer, and it's just like that made the trailer more hype than it actually is. And like you, I expected a trailer of this length of sorts. And I think the trailer that we got is, for the most part, what I expected, not what I would have hoped for, though. You know what I mean? Like this trailer, it kind of did get hit what I hoped for. I hoped that the trailer we got was gonna be less cryptic than the ones we've been getting for this game, where we see 5 seconds of something new but not much else and all. And this one definitely did a better job of laying down. Okay, here is more of the general premise of the game, kind of, sort of. Like, it's still being a bit mysterious, but all right, here's a bit more in terms of like, here's a bit more story for you, so you have a better idea of the stakes that are at play here and all like that. Cool, I appreciate that. Showed us more of the world, which, yeah, it still looks like Breath of the Wild's world for the most part, but there are some new elements going on here, which, like, okay, cool. Showed us some new stuff with combat and all. So the new arrows, some new enemies that we got going on. Um, and so I appreciated all that. But I think like the big thing here was, oh, wait, we're going all Banjo and Kazooie nuts and bolts here. We're making our own vehicles, our own creations of sorts. And like that right there, I'm like, okay, that's really cool. That's really interesting, showing us that this gauntlet hand thing that Link has going on is gonna be like really a huge thing. It's like is more to it than we ever would have expected. So I'm really excited by that. But again, I feel like the trailer, although it gave us a better idea of things, we still don't have a better actual real comprehensive understanding of what we're getting ourselves into with this game and what's going to be fundamentally different about this one as opposed to Breath of the Wild. And I think that's what we need. And I think I would hope we're going to get that. Like we're almost, I would say, I would bet money. We're almost certainly going to get like a Nintendo Direct focused solely on Tears of the Kingdom at some point in the next 2 months. I would even say in the next month it has to happen before April, because this is a mid-May game. You imagine it would happen before mid-April. So I would say in March or so is when we would expect it. And that direct, that whatever it's going to be, needs to be one that gives us an idea. Okay, here's what the world is like. Here's a better idea of these new gameplay mechanics, new gameplay additions, things that are different between this one and the last one, so that you actually understand, okay, this is what's separating Tears of the Kingdom from Breath of the Wild. It's not just very expensive DLC. You get what I mean? Like it's worthy
Yeah.
of this full price, this full sequel status and all.
Yeah. I think, now to be fair, I mean, that's most sequels, right? I don't think that the expectation has necessarily been set. Like this isn't the next iteration of Zelda the way we've seen so often. Like really the most we've ever gotten is two, like we got Ocarina of Time and then Majora's Mask, and then it jumps. And I guess you can kind of say Twilight Princess is in that same vein. But it's like as a
Wind Waker
makeup, but
had
I still
some
view it as,
Wind Waker had some like on the
huh?
DS with like the train game on the DS, and then I forgot there was another one on the DS as well. But Wind Waker had DS ones that were like quote unquote sequels, but they were like very different as well.
So I think expensive DLC would be kind of insulting no matter what. But I like story wise, it's going to be different, obviously. And I do trust Nintendo to like introduce new gameplay mechanics. Like I always kind of figured that's what the ARM was ultimately for, was just for them to like come up with some new inventive systems or whatever. It is interesting though. Like I'm completely fine if they don't show any more than this because I know that there's going to be like big, probably shocking differences once we get our hands on it. But from a marketing standpoint, from a how are you gonna like it's Zelda and Breath of the Wild was the most popular Zelda ever, so they'll probably move units, but like without the proper marketing push, does Johnny Casual, who's got a Switch and liked Breath of the Wild a lot, like Zelda, is he gonna know? You know, because it's like, or what makes it different, et cetera, et cetera. I think if they don't have that big push, it'll be interesting to see how it does sales wise. But ultimately, it's not going to affect how I enjoy the game. I'm fine ultimately if this is all we end up getting, but it would be kind of a weird overall choice. But then again, it's Nintendo. They make weird choices, you know?
Exactly. And like I've said it before, like this is Nintendo and this is the sequel to Breath of the Wild. They know they can do whatever they want and it's gonna sell. People are gonna buy it. People like you'll have people that are like, I want to see more or I want to see less. But people like they know they can coast on the type of marketing they've been doing, and people will eat up every bit of it and still buy that game day one without any problem, without any hesitation. So like it's a uniquely the Nintendo situation that they can be in and that they can thrive in. Uh, there is the collector's edition. It's
Yeah, I mean the
130
collector's
bucks.
editions are flying off the shelf.
Yeah, like it seems cool. I'm not gonna buy it, but it's a cool collector's edition. $130. There's also gonna be amiibo of Link from this game that's gonna be available too. Uh, it's cool. It's cool. And I want to stick on Zelda, but real quick, I just want to fire off these quick hits from the direct as well. Uh, there was also Xenoblade DLC announced, some Fire Emblem Engage DLC announced, Wave 4 for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They kind of teased that with Birdo and a new map, Yoshi's Island. Splatoon 3 expansion pass got announced. Octopath Traveler 2 has a demo. Sea of Stars has a demo, which I downloaded, in an August 29th release date for this year. And then Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, getting some cool story content. And Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp has an April 21st release date. Other notable things, just quick hits, not much to talk about with them. Back to Zelda though. $70. The first $70 Nintendo game. I saw people online, they were like, I didn't see many people upset about it because I think many people were like, all right, I mean, it was going to happen eventually from Nintendo. And of course, I said this, the smart play to do it is with Zelda because they know people will pay that money for it. Like you could get away with doing that with Zelda. No one's going to care that much.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it makes sense. It's smart. It was like this or Mario, you know, and who knows how
Yeah.
far away that is. Um, yeah, I'm paying $70. I don't care. Like, you know, it's a game you're getting that time out of for sure. At least like you have the option to. And I pretty effortlessly put 100 hours into Breath of the Wild, so I'm not like, oh my gosh, $10 more. You know, like it's well worth it to me. I didn't get the collector's edition though because I don't know. It seems like a shitty collector's edition. Like
I think it
60 extra
is.
dollars and all I'm really getting is a steel. Like I'm not an art book person though, so I'm getting a steel book and some pins for $60. That's tough, and it's like also because it sells out instantly, you have to like try hard for it. So it's just more of one of those things. But I'm like, I'll be fine. Like if they had one with a 6 statue or something, maybe I would have gone for it. But
Yeah. No, yeah, $70. I'm like, again, I'll pay the price for it. Like I personally don't have a problem with $70 games, period, anyway. So like I'm fine paying it. I will say though, it's interesting that a Switch game is $70, considering how old the Switch hardware is and everything. And it's gonna be interesting because like again, I have no problem paying it. If you're charging $70 for it though, it better run better than Breath of the Wild did. Breath of the Wild ran fine for the most part, but that game has consistent frame rate issues throughout the entire game. And like no matter where you are, there are frame rate issues. So
spoiler
I
alert,
would
this game won't.
that's exactly like I'm almost
It's
certain.
Nintendo. They don't give a shit, man. You saw how Pokemon Scarlet and Violet ran, and they were just like, don't know what you're talking about.
That's the thing. I'm certain it's gonna have the same frame rate issues. I hope it's not worse. I hope they are not worse. And that's the thing. They said now $70 games will be a case by case basis for Nintendo games. So you can bet the Zelda games $70, or at least these like the proper Zelda games $70. Your 3D Mario's $70. Maybe even the 2D Mario's $70. Metroid Prime 4 will probably be $70. But when this conversation came up, people were like, well, Pokemon's going to be $70 and they're going to be both of them going to be 70 for 140 right there. And they will probably run like garbage. And it's like, how's that going to shake out?
I am retroactively kind of shocked they didn't do it with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Probably because they wanted the shift that, well, at least the Nintendo cultural shift to happen with a game that will be a cultural shift of sorts for Nintendo. That being Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah. Whereas Pokemon, it's like you can and you can't, but also again, there's Pokemon also still has that stigma of not much is changing with it.
That's
and like
true.
it just doesn't look like it should be like as much money as that as well. Like if you did it with Pokemon, there would have been way more backlash than doing it with Zelda.
Yeah. I genuinely believe this. I think this is a sign Nintendo knows they got the sauce for this one. Like they know they know an absolute heater is about to come out if they're like, because I do think they're like they know when stuff isn't good quality, like I don't think they're stupid. And I don't think they would be like, yeah, let's add the $10 on if they thought this game was like, hey guys, it's had a lot of development trouble. It's this or that. Like, I think they've been letting it cook. They've obviously, it's taken a little longer than we all expected for sure. Especially with the rumors of like, oh, it's the same engine, so it'll be like Majora's Mask right after Ocarina. But I think they've got the sauce with this one. I think they're like, they don't even know. And I hope I don't know. I hope it blows me away consistently. My dream scenario is this is somehow better than Breath of the Wild, and it's my favorite game ever.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say about Zelda real quick. Are you excited about that, like creating your own vehicles or mechanism type feature and everything? Because I think it could be pretty cool.
Not at all.
Why not?
Not at all.
Why not?
It's not my kind of thing. But like I didn't give a shit. I didn't give a shit about cooking. Like there's just certain elements to games that like I understand why people like them, and it just has zero appeal to me. And that's 100% like one of those things. Like you can build your own cars, you can cook, and it's like, okay. Like for me, vehicles are, and I guess this can be a reflection of how you view things in real life too. It's like a way to get from point A to point B. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I view in-game vehicles for the most part. Like, yeah, is it cool that something looks cooler than the other? Yeah, but like if it involves significant investment on my end, if I have to go find these parts or do this or that, I'm probably not going to care.
Yeah, you see, like I feel like I'm with you on the cooking side of things. Like cooking, I only did it in Breath of the Wild because like I needed to get by in certain parts. Other than that, I didn't like invest in like looking up different recipes to make the perfect meal or whatnot. I wasn't worried about that. I was like, make what I need so I can get by. Um, but this, it seems like it's going to be a core integral mechanic in the game, similar to how the Sheikah Slate and all those different things were in Breath of the Wild. It seems like this is like the a central or the central mechanic of Tears of the Kingdom. So I'm looking forward to, again, we need a deeper dive on it and the possibilities that you can do with it. But I'm looking forward to seeing what that turns out to be. Because I mean, I'm just thinking about Breath of the Wild's physics engine and how like that was like so revelatory for Breath of the Wild and Zelda, really. I'm thinking about how that could be implemented into this new like building mechanic and involved on, or and how it'll take advantage of the physics, how they'll just interact with one another and all. It's like, you saw in the trailer the shot of Link with like essentially like a hover drone of sorts flying on a hover drone in the sky. And I'm just thinking like, man, imagine if one of those falls off. What is the physics? How does that then work and all like that? Just it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of it. But again, we need that deeper dive into what's going to happen with this game.
I see, but I'm fine. Like, I don't know. I think it's cooler to just find that stuff out on your own.
And that's the thing. I think it'll be fine. learning, finding it out on our own. I just think personally, and this is where it comes down to whether or not you want that magic of finding things out on your own with this game. If you want to have that again, I think personally, it would be better served to at least give a overview of, okay, these are different things going on in this game. You don't need to go too in depth where you like lay out everything, but give at least an overview or an understanding of, all right, this is what this is. Here are some things you can do with it. We look forward to seeing what more you cook up when you play the game. Something like that. That way it's not so much speculation. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I again, I'm fine with not knowing any of that stuff, but that's me. I'm like I said, it doesn't need to be radio dark. I'm not like, oh, I'm not gonna watch the trailer, but I'm also like, yeah, I'm fine with what they've shown.
Yeah. All right. We've talked a lot about Nintendo, and I think we can kind of table the Nintendo conversation there. Unless you want to keep talking more Nintendo in the future Nintendo, but I think we could table it there.
Yeah, I'm fine with that if you want.
Yeah, because we've been talking about it for a while. And I want to do this remake thing. I want to do this remake thing that we had last week because I think that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing
Yeah,
what
I'm
we
down for
think of.
sure.
So last week I had an idea, a thought of, hey, remakes. They're a thing that are happening a whole lot. Dead Space just came out. Resident Evil's on the horizon. Metroid just got the remaster, not quite a remake, but a remaster that looks really great. So I had an idea. I was like, what is a game from each generation of consoles, starting from the PS1 generation? So not going all the way back, but from the PS1, from each generation, going from PS1 to the PS3, what's a game that we would like to see get the remake treatment from each generation? Because I think it'd be cool. I think some of those games deserve remakes in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And the way I'm thinking of it is like this. There are three tiers of remake, so to speak. Okay. And I wrote this down on my phone, so I'm going to pull it up. The first tier, of course, is like your Blue Point type of remake, where it's essentially nothing more than a graphical remake. The controls stay the same, the gameplay, the story is basically the same. It's just a major visual remake. That's one tier of remake. You have like the top tier remake where it's like we are changing everything. The gameplay is very different, like a Resident Evil 2 type remake or a Final Fantasy 7 type remake, where it's like we're changing everything. The gameplay is very different. The story is different as well. Like that, there's that type of remake as well. Like what those are the type of remakes that I'm talking about here. And whatever game you want, like what type of remake would you want for it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So let's start with the PS1 and 64 Sega Saturn generation. If you played Sega Saturn, I did not.
I did not.
Okay. What's a game from that generation that you would want to see a remake of?
There's like two big ones for me. So from the I've never played it angle, Metal Gear Solid. And then from the like, please dear God, just give me this game that doesn't look the way it looked. It'd be Ocarina of Time.
Ooh, okay. Okay. See, for
Because like
me,
if you go back and try and play Ocarina of Time, it's a little rough. Visually, control wise, like getting that just brand spanking new and then like dual analog would be sweet.
it would be. I didn't think about that game because I've never played it as well. I mean, I've played like a bit of like the very beginning, but like I've never actually
Wait,
played the full game.
you've never played Ocarina?
I played a bit of the beginning, like two or three times. It was when I was way younger. I've not actually played through the entire game though.
Okay.
I know. Blasphemy, right? A pox upon my house. I'm sorry.
I've never beat it because I was a kid and I just haven't gone back to it as an adult, but I've played hours of it. Like I played a shit ton of it.
Yeah. I could see if that game got a remake, people would go crazy over that. Like imagine that getting like a Breath of the Wild style remake. Like what type of remake would you want for it? Would you want to
I
be
think
like
I would
graphical
want the
or
blue point. Like I want it to be Ocarina. I just want like, but obviously the level of that jump is different because you're going from this generation to brand new. So it would be nuts. You'd have to ground up do everything, like your brand new assets pretty much and everything. The difference would be your like you're staying true, tried and true. Like it is, following everything to the T. I would say it's probably more similar to like what they did with Shadow, right? Because Shadow of the Colossus,
Yeah.
I don't think they were able to like just upres and redo everything or like and upscale everything from the PS2 to the because the 3 was even just that small polish, like the
Yeah.
HD remaster or whatever. So the 4 was the remake, but it'd be
Yeah.
even a bigger jump than that. But that's what I would want out of Ocarina. I think that's what I'd want out of Metal Gear because I've never played it, but Metal Gear Solid. But at the same time, if they changed it, I wouldn't know, and maybe I'd enjoy it.
Yeah, I think for Ocarina, I can go both ways, but I can see I could go both ways on it for Ocarina. For Metal Gear, if they were to remake that, which yet I've never played either, but I think if they were to remake that, I think it would probably be better served getting like the full blown remake treatment of when maybe not doing anything with the story, but definitely altering the gameplay. So it's not like the top down, but it's way more, maybe more in line with Metal Gear Solid 5's gameplay. Because I know people love 5's gameplay. So maybe more in line with
Yeah,
5 or maybe 3, but like just modernizing the gameplay and giving it, like a major facelift overhaul and stuff like that. See, my pick that I wrote down, because I only thought of one. This might be blasphemous. Okay. I never played this game to completion, but I've played this game off and on throughout the years. Mario 64. Give Mario
yeah.
64 a full on
It's
remake.
rough replaying it, man. Like I know people are like, "Oh, it's still really great," and I'm like, I bought that 3D All Stars collection, and I've never played 64. I never played 64. Again, it's just when you're little, you have no money, so it's a game of choices. So for whatever reason, I didn't have the attachment to Mario, especially his like platformers at the time. So, and like I just got handed Ocarina, for example. So
Yeah.
yeah, I never played it, and then I went back, tried to play it, and it's just like it was fine, but I certainly wasn't having a great time. I think a remaster of that would be sick.
That I say that thing, that one I would say is, man, I don't know if it should be like a full on remake. Like, definitely do upgrade the visuals entirely. Um, And I'm thinking, no, yeah, full on remake. Because I'm thinking make moving around as Mario feel as good as it does in Odyssey. Like it feels
Which
great
feels
to move
awesome.
around.
Yeah.
Right. It feels great to move around as him in Odyssey. So like full on remake the visuals, redo the gameplay, make the gameplay feel nicer and tighter, add some new levels in there, just for funsies. Let people play as Luigi if they want to, throw that in there as a little hidden thing and all. Actually, that might have been something that was in the DS version. No, the DS version added someone else you could play as. I don't remember who though. I'm almost positive about that. Um, but yeah, maybe adding some new characters, new levels. That one deserves a nice remake. I think that would be great, especially if it was like on Switch or whatnot. Like take that on the go. Like that's what the 3D All Stars version of it should have been. Just like ground up
Yeah.
redo. All right, you got any others for this generation or no?
Those I didn't want to cheat. Like I technically did because I did too, but like it's because I couldn't pick between the two. But no,
That's
I
fine.
those there's probably more I could certainly come up with, but those were the two that immediately off the dome came
All
to
right.
mind.
So now we go to the PS2, Dreamcast, GameCube, Xbox generation. Now, what are you picking for this one? What's a game that you want to see get a remake?
This one's tough, and I'm thinking about it. You go first on this one because I want to hear what your thoughts are.
Okay. So I have one that I thought, I mean, all my life I've kind of thought this game was like an overlooked deep cut of some sort, but I've seen people talk about it in years. I'm like, oh, maybe it's not. And it's on the PS4. You can get like the PS2 version of it. War of the Monsters. Give me a remake
Okay, yeah.
of War of the Monsters. I loved that game as a kid. That game was so much fun. I have not played it since then, so I'm sure that like the combat, the fighting is probably like janky in terms of like feeling good. But like give me a new War of the Monsters. It was so campy. It was so B movie, but it knew what it was. It leaned into it so hard. And like we need, I would love more games like that. I would love to see that one come back. Like I love how you could climb on top of a building, take the radio tower off a building and throw it at someone else and impale them with it, and then grab a light pole and beat someone with the light pole, throw cars at people. There was a stage in Tokyo where I forgot what you had to do, if it was just like a time thing, but every so often a tsunami would come across the city of Tokyo and just like wreck everything. Like it was so cool. And seeing that remade for modern day, so like making the game feel better. I think this remake, because it's a fighting game, it will just essentially end up being more or less be a Blue Point remake, but with better controls for the most part. Because essentially, I mean, it's just a fighting game. There is like an arcade mode, but like there's no real story behind it. Um,
Yeah.
that would be so great. I would love to see that get remade.
It, yeah, that makes sense. I never played the game, but I remember the box art. It was one of those ones, yeah, I'd look at it as a kid and be like, damn, one of these days I'll get it. Never ended up getting it.
It's good.
Um,
What do you
but
got?
that's an interesting choice. Yeah, you definitely went off the beaten path for that one. So for me, it's just tough because I do think this generation actually, I think a lot of the bangers from this generation got remade or like remastered at least. Like they got a lot of games got like polished upgrades. Like it's pointless for me to say like Sly Cooper, even though I love Sly Cooper or Jack and Daxter.
Yeah.
Like Jack and Daxter would be nice to have like a blue point, but it's not going to be my choice. So got two games here. One I just kind of thought of like out of nowhere. So I've never played it, so I'll keep it in the vein of like never played and played, never played. I would like a Wario World remaster, so I don't have to fucking pay $120 for that game. And it'll drop the price of the physical edition, but also because it just seems awesome, and I'd like to be able to just buy a Switch copy of that and play that. I think that'd be sick. Again, because I didn't play it. I don't care if they change stuff. I don't care if they don't. Like we can go either way with that route. But like I think it'd be fun to have a non-Mario major, like because even Luigi's Mansion is not a platformer. So I think having like a 3D platformer with a different Nintendo mascot would be cool. And then for my played, go to the best sports game of all time, SSX Tricky, baby. How the hell
Ooh.
do we not have I would just settle for putting the fucking PS2 game on the PSN, but like, yeah, give me a Blue Point remake. It controls like a dream still, just obviously update it to where map it to the PS5. Just give me that high res. It's the best sports game of all time. I love it so much. Just do it. Like EA, like Mr. I'm sitting on a pile of money. All I want is money. The fact that they refuse to just give us a remaster. Turn on the TikTok camera. EA, I am begging you, please, just give us something. Just stop trying to remake all this. Or like, I don't want SSX plain. I don't want any of that shit. We all know the best one of all time is SSX Tricky. Just give it to us. I just want to play Tokyo Megaplex in HD and rack up million scores. Like that's all I want in life. And you're denying me of it, and I'm tired of it.
I love your TikTok rants. I love your turn on the TikTok camera rants. They're always good. They're always good. All right, moving on to the PS3.
So yeah,
that's it for your PS2 generation.
yeah.
Right?
I was just gonna say yeah. Moving on.
So PS3, Wii 360 generation. All right, this one I actually have a couple listed out, but I'll say only like two of them, maybe. Okay. My first pick for this, it's gonna be controversial. Okay, probably gonna be controversial.
Okay.
Because many people would say it doesn't need a remake. Remake Bioshock, the very first Bioshock. The type of remake I'm talking about for this, I'm talking like the Final Fantasy 7 remake, the Resident Evil 2 remake type of remake, where still like, yes, still keep it a first person shooter. Okay, that's fine. Update that gameplay. I haven't played it in a while, but I imagine that the gameplay might not have aged the best. So update the gameplay. Let's change some stuff with the story a bit. Still keep, the core of the, player control, that theme and everything going on there. Still keep that. But let's play around with the story some. Let's mess around with it a bit. Let's get a little weird, get a bit weirder. maybe make the ending a bit better because I know people complain about the ending of that game. Maybe make the ending a bit better. Um, and then I think maybe lean more into the spookiness of it because like Bioshock is like kind of like borderline survival horror for the first 2-3 hours, and then after that, it kind of loses that entirely. Um, Maybe lean into that a bit more throughout the game, and I'm trying to think about what else we could do. Maybe I don't want to say make it open world because Bioshock One, it's not open world. It's not even open area. Like you have you're able to go through the world, but you're blocked by like the loading screens and all like that as you go to each section, and everything is more so like level based, kind of sort of. Maybe make this open world where you're able to explore Rapture as you please. And if you know, maybe if you still want to have certain areas blocked off because of story progression and all, like I can get behind that. I can understand that. But let me like freely explore Rapture. Let's go to places, parts of Rapture that we didn't in the first game. So maybe we go into a building and we just, oh, there's a raft that we could go into that takes me to another building in Rapture. And there's more story stuff over here that we never explored in the original game. Maybe we can do that. Like, I would love to see a modern day Rapture, just on these consoles or the
Yeah.
next consoles. I think that would be controversial, but it could be really cool.
I I don't have an attachment to Bioshock. I think I played like the first 2 hours and I just got stuck and never came back. And this is like when I'm 14. So, um, but you're right. Like, yeah. So my interpretation of the game was like I thought the whole thing was that survival horror esque. Obviously, not quite to that point, but it is definitely. You're right. It's got those vibes for sure. It's a pretty intense game the first couple hours. I think
Yes.
that may have played a part of me getting stuck and being like, "Fuck this." But this generation's tough because yeah, I don't think that Bioshock necessarily needs one, but I can see the argument. Like I think there's some good points there. For me, it's just like, yeah, I'd play that for sure. Um, I think I'm gonna go with, and I think you could do either or here, Blue Point or Full Blown. I'd be cool with either. I played the first one. I think I beat it. I don't know. I if not, I'd play like 90% of it. But then stopped. But I do have the whole series in my collection now, and I need to play them. I think let's bring back Resistance, baby. Doesn't have to be
Okay.
Insomniac, but I want something that Sony feels like they've abandoned. Maybe remake it. Maybe give the full blown, so like it's a little more interesting. And I think you could even play up the horror elements of that. Maybe, um, I do think it was a competitor, but I think they've got to have a studio that could do something more interesting with it. Well, not that Insomniac did bad, but I assume Insomniac doesn't want to go back and redo that franchise. But like I'd be fine if they wanted it or whoever wants it. I just think it'd be really interesting to uh bring that back. And also like, come on, Sony, I want some first person shooter. Bring something back. And I think Resistance is more interesting than Killzone personally. And I like Killzone. I don't have anything against it, but I just think that'd be like a more interesting revival than Killzone.
Yeah, I've never played any Resistance games, but I played all three Killzone. No, I played Killzone 2 and 3. Um, they were good games. I think Resistance was always just more interesting though, just from a concept, like from a conceptual level than a gameplay level was always more interesting. Uh, so I would definitely, if they remade the first Resistance, I would play that in a heartbeat. So I never played the first one. I would
Yeah.
play that in a heartbeat. That'd be really cool to see. Um, yeah, do that. Do that for sure. I got one more. One more I'll say real quick.
Oh,
Uh
okay. Nice.
the conduit on Wii. Okay.
Oh,
Now
hey, yeah. I
I
remember
again
I'd never played it, but I'd play it. I'd do a remake. You already sold me.
again, I know that this might be a deep cut, off the wall cut kind of sort of. But the conduit was a fun game. Like that was a fun first person shooter on the Wii. I really enjoyed it. And I think seeing that game get remade, like I'm talking maybe not full blown remake. Don't change the story. Let the story stay as stupid as it is. But like update the visuals, modernize the gameplay, add some new maps. That would be fun. That would be cool. It's like that in between between like the Blue Point and like a full on remake. Give it the in between stage, like that Crisis Core type of stage where it's like you're not really a remake, you're not a full on, but you kind of sort of are. Let's do that for the Conduit. That game needs more love. Bring it back, Nintendo, or someone.
I I never played it because I didn't own a Wii, but I remember, yeah, very vividly that game coming out and it being like a big we people were just like, we got a first person shooter, guys. And I don't have any expanding on this, but I'll throw in here real quickly. Let's get a Mad World remake too, you know?
I briefly thought about that one.
We're throwing weirdo Wii deep cuts in here. I never played it, but it seems cool. I'd like to revisit it, you know?
No, I could say that. Let's get Platinum to do that with their A team, not their B or C team. Please and thank you.
God, there's such a difference there.
There is a very, very big difference there. But yeah, those are some remakes we'd want to see. This is supposed to be just like a remake thing, but you know what? This ended up being like bring it back, essentially. We kind of did bring it back remake edition. And I'm down with that.
Combo. Yeah, a little bit of a combo.
All right. So now let's do our brief mentions real quick. Really not a lot of them. And then we'll quickly do what we've been playing. My words escaped me in that moment.
You're good.
First brief mention that was going to be its own category, like different talking point, but you know, just be a brief mention. Assassin's Creed Valhalla's DLC, the Ragnarok DLC, won the Grammy for best score in video games. This was the first year that was a category at the Grammys, so it's notable. You know, whoever the winner was going to be was notable. It was Assassin's Creed Valhalla's DLC. Congratulations! It's funny when the announcer said the winner. They said Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Just like, okay, that's not how you say
they
that
always
word.
got to throw in the little punches towards video games.
Yeah, it's like Valhalla is not a hard word to say. That's not even a video game specific name. That's the first.
That's the Grammys.
That is the Grammys. That's the Grammys. It's the first brief mention. Next up, we'll very briefly keep this brief. Hogwarts Legacy. It's breaking records. It's throwing the internet into a tizzy as well, but it's breaking records at the same time. It had the second highest peak number of players of any single player only game on Steam before its official release on February 10th, because the deluxe edition went live for deluxe edition owners 3 days early, so they were able to play it on February 7th. And this peak was at about 489,139 players. And it also had 1.28 million peak concurrent viewers at launch on Twitch, making it the number one single player game ever on the platform. I knew it was going to do big numbers. I didn't expect it like that. That's just wild. That's just wild to me. I wonder what it's going to be like sales wise, especially since they're doing like the staggered platform release.
Yeah, because this doesn't necessarily translate to sales. I'm not saying sales wise it'll bomb, but it will be interesting to see. Like, you can do all this and still not meet your projections, because obviously they're probably projecting high numbers. So if it's big, but maybe not big compared to their projections, then what does that mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
you know, whatever. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, because obviously I'm a hater here. I will not be playing this game. Bears repeating, fuck you, J.K. Rowling.
Yes, it does.
And you know, it is what it is. I forgot to mention this on the pod last week, but it legit was chilling in my Walmart, like near my house, like a week before release, maybe even longer, because I was like, is that game fucking out already? Because obviously I don't care, you know, and I'm just like, no, wait, it's not. I looked it up and it's like, oh yeah, it's definitely not out. Which sucks, because to me, that's like, I love that. I love seeing releases in the wild, and I was just like, could care less about that game. But the first time I ever saw that, I think, was the Order 1886. My local Walmart had like broken release date by like a few days, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And this was definitely the furthest in advance. I was like, holy shit, that game's not out for like 10 days.
Like, what? Man, and like if you were gonna get it, you were like, I could have had so much coverage already ready for it.
Yeah, I know. Just like all this stuff cut off the internet on my PS5, just sitting there.
But no, yeah, I do wonder what the sales are going to be, because it's only PS5, Series X and S and PC right now, and then April for PS4 and Xbox One, and then July for Switch. So like that staggered release is going to like definitely impact sales. You could only imagine what it would have been if it was all same platform, like everywhere.
Yeah,
day one.
I think the PS4 and the Xbox One might suck. Like
performance wise, probably. I'm hoping
Oh,
not.
performance wise, I'm saying sales wise, I don't even like.
Oh,
It's interesting because on one hand, I feel like a lot of Harry Potter's quote unquote diehard fans are not big gamers. Um, but so like you could definitely see how maybe they don't care as much, and it's like whatever, they're the kind of people that are only buying one, maybe two games a year anyway, so like maybe that won't matter. But at the same time, if it's garnering and generating all this hype, those same people are probably thinking, well, I want to play that game. And those kind of people, I feel like a lot of times, if it's not available now, maybe they never get back to it. And so if it's not available immediately and they don't have a Series X or a PS5, then maybe they just never end up playing it. I'm just like, that's a more interesting litmus test even to me. Like, what does it do sales wise with a game that's polarizing, with a game that a lot of people hate, a lot of people dislike. The natural duality is that, of course, when some people are this opposed to a game, other people just rally behind it in a weird way. So like, what does that mean with this now weirdly delayed game from the systems with the bigger install base,
yeah. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. And as you said, bears repeating. Fuck J.K. Rowling.
100%. Yes.
Take Two CEO Strauss Zelnick, which is a James Bond villain name if I've ever heard one, has confirmed that Judas will release by March 2025. Judas is the new game from Ken Levine's team, Ghost Story Games, revealed at the Game Awards. So got a bit to wait, but it'll be coming by then. Yeah, whenever I hear his name, I just think James Bond villain. It just sounds like one. It
It
just
sounds
does.
very James Bond villainy. Yes.
uh, One last Switch thing here. The Switch has sold 122.55 million units, making it the third best selling console of all time. It has surpassed the PS4 and Game Boy and is now behind the DS, which is at 154.02 million, and the PS2 at the very top with 159 million units. I do not believe the Switch will hit it, but it will get close to
It'd
the
be
DS.
tough to catch either of those. Who knows though? With how Nintendo, we still have no idea when Switch 2's coming or whatever. Um, it also bears repeating, the most hilarious graph ever, if you see it going around the internet, is the one. It's like reminder that this happened, and it's like the Wii sales numbers on a bar, the Wii U, and then the Switch. Like how huge those two were sandwiched between, like, arguably the one of the biggest flops ever. Like, I don't know sales numbers wise what the Dreamcast did, but it feels like if Nintendo didn't, basically have money out the wazoo from the Wii and the DS, that like the Wii U could have, bankrupted them. But luckily they rebounded with the Switch.
For sure, for sure. Jeff Grubb, he is reporting that there are two PlayStation events coming soon, the first of which being a state of play in roughly the next month. And he says it's a bit more kind of like low key, so like not a super hype one. But the second event is a bigger event with the big boys, and that should be coming before E3 in June. I I I'm of the mindset of I can believe this. I can buy this. It's just a matter of the win for the second one and like what would be there. Because I'm hoping that I'm hoping that it's not two state of plays. Okay. I'm hoping that with the first one is a state of play, the second one is like a showcase. Because the showcases have been like their bigger things where we get a
That's
whole lot of first party.
But see, what I'm more interested in is, didn't they also call the one before E3 last year? I believe they called that a state of play, right?
That was a state of play. It was
So
a
I'd be
showcase.
fine with that one. That one was a banger. That was probably my favorite conference overall from E3. So I mean, like, if they're just calling everything a state of play and they're
Yeah.
just, yeah, like, I'm fine with it. I do get the vibes that is the size, that it'll be a showcase, even if they don't name it that.
Yeah. Like you said, it does depend on the naming. Because I mean, they did a PlayStation 5 showcase for 2 years in a row. They did two for the 2020 when the PS5 was coming out. And then they did another one September 2021, a PlayStation showcase, mixed in with state of plays and all. So it's not like the showcase branding is completely gone. If they wanted to only do state of plays and drop the showcase branding entirely, that's fine. We'll just have huge state of plays and lower key state of plays. But I wonder if this is an actual showcase or not. Regardless,
I
I just hope that we get a good look at a lot of first party stuff from them coming in the future. I hope we do.
yeah, looking at the calendar, I'd be willing to like bet that what we see in that first one is just Resident Evil remake or RE4 remake stuff right before release, because he says within the next month. Makes sense. Early March, that game comes out late March. Probably a look at Horizon DLC like gameplay, and
Yes.
then just probably indie slash smaller third party stuff. So like I wouldn't get my hopes personally are not super high for that one. Like it'll be fine. We'll get some updates, cool stuff. But yeah, like you have to think the only thing we really know that's coming is Spider-Man and Wolverine. Like and Death Stranding 2 now, I guess. But like I think there will be some heat on that second one.
There has to be. There has to be. Last one, the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, CMA, is showing more concern with the Activision Blizzard acquisition and believes it could harm UK gamers. This could have been a conversation topic of its own, but I'm so tired of talking about Activision Blizzard that they are relegated to brief mention status. Some of these solutions that they've presented to Microsoft, though, to like acquiesce their concerns, are selling the Call of Duty part of the business, selling the Activision part of the business, or selling the Activision Blizzard part of the business that like operates with Call of Duty and Blizzard. And, I mean, not Call of Duty Blizzard, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and like other games and all. But they are open to behavioral situation solutions on Microsoft's part as well, so long as you know that they're like actually self-enforcing them and staying on top of those things. Can be a conversation topic on its own. It's not going to be a conversation topic on its own. I will say though, I have thought to myself, like, man, what if, like in the past, like, man, what if like something they have to do is like you could buy them, but Call of Duty has to be its own thing, or like they're only allowed to buy parts of Activision Blizzard, not the entire beast at all.
Um, I still think I think the solution here is just you're going to be able to play Call of Duty on PlayStation forever. That's what I think is actually coming here.
Yep,
I think that's just the end solution. Is like Sony's going to get their way and they're going to get Call of Duty forever. Like, but I think it still goes through. It's just we predicted this a long time ago. It's just a lot of song and dance. It's just gonna be this shit for another year or whatever before it finally goes through.
yeah. I think the final verdict for this right here is due by end of April. I think either April 16th or the 26th. It's due by like the end of April. So we'll be getting updates soon. That
Yeah.
said, Tyler, you played some Vampire Survivors and some SpongeBob.
Yeah. I just played some more Vampire. So it's literally just last week, but just like updated. Played more Vampire Survivors. Man, that game is still a lot of fun. It's like once you kind of figure out the rhythm, it definitely becomes easier. I'll say that much. Like legit, I don't know, too many hours to beat my like first level, figuring out what it was. Cause like it doesn't hand hold you, doesn't tell. So I did end up looking up like how do you because it felt a little inconsistent and I didn't realize what had actually gotten me through from level 1 to 2, or from the first world to like opening up the new world. And so I looked it up and it's just like it was timer based. So I was like, I mean, I don't know. I guess that's a spoiler alert, sorry. But so once I did that, once I knew kind of what I was more looking for, and it was like then all of a sudden I just started blasting through levels. Still not like a cakewalk, but like I figured out good effective strategies for what I wanted, started unlocking more, started like and getting more money so that way I could get like more permanent unlocks. But towards the end, like figuring out one of these levels, you have to do like different stuff now, like extra stuff. So I've got to figure out how I'm gonna do that. But like I wouldn't say credits rolled because there's no real credits rolled, but I've unlocked almost everything so far.
Nice.
So pretty deep in that. Great game. It's weird to score a game like that, but it's definitely like an 8.5 or a 9 for me. So much fun. I don't know what I would do to improve it, but it does feel a little weird giving it like a 10. But yeah, like that game's a blast. And then I also finished SpongeBob the Cosmic Shake, which I wrote a review for. I haven't posted it up, but I wrote the script. I've got footage, so I should just probably edit that today and bang that out. But ultimately, it left me a little cold. I think even more so than like when we talked about it. Like my review, kind of the boiled down to it's just like I'm fine with jank. That's like what to be expected. It is in so many ways like an actual successor to Battle for Bikini Bottom. That's expected. That's a feature, not a bug. It's like a part I haven't. But this is a SpongeBob game, and it doesn't like it just feels like the story and the writing is like fanfic. It's just like a kid's
Yeah.
fanfic. It doesn't feel legitimately funny. It just feels like, oh, we can just make memes that are established. And it's like there's a part where they have the guy that does the my leg thing, and it's like it's not funny because you see it coming from a mile away, and it's just like I fundamentally believe that you're supposed to do, and like the line delivery is not even that good, because he's not doing it like, and it's just like it just feels like constantly like the meme where it's like Leonardo DiCaprio and Once
Like,
Upon a Time, which is like
ah.
pointing. It's like, see, isn't that funny? And it's like, no, not really. We've seen it a fucking million times, probably funnier on the internet. And it's like that's its idea of jokes. And I know it's a kid's game, and I'm sure that'll be used as because like the reception to it seems weirdly positive, but I think it's just because we haven't gotten anything good that's SpongeBob related in like a long time. That doesn't make this good. You know what I mean? Like ultimately, SpongeBob, even though it's a kid's show, like it really is really well done writing. Like it's legitimately, especially the good episodes are legitimately funny, even 20 years later. So I think to just be like, oh well, it's a kid's game is like a disservice to like the kind of writing we should expect for a good SpongeBob game. And if that's gone, then all you have is the PS2 era jank, and it feels like it just feels so mediocre. I think my review I gave it a 5 out of 10, which feels rough, but at the same time, I feel like it's fair, it's warranted. Those are legit criticisms, you know?
Yeah. My big question for you though, in regards to SpongeBob, okay?
Yeah.
Do you find out what the cosmic shake is?
I know, like it's like I said, it's so I don't know if
Darn.
they shake the bottle of jelly at any point, like because it just feels like it's more self-referential than it is towards like a specific thing. Yeah, it's not like there is no cosmic shake. It's all like cosmic stuff, and it's like I guess it's a cosmic shakeup. You could take it as that, because
Mm.
they have this like cosmic jelly that they blow bubbles, and so I guess yeah, cosmic shakeup is probably, but that's a weirder game title, so you just go with the cosmic shake. I don't know.
Got it.
Yeah, like it's
Got it.
mid vibes all around.
No, yeah, when you were saying before about like the remember that just made me think of South Park with the member berries. Like, oh, remember Star Wars? Remember the Death Star
Yeah,
Lando Calrissian flew the Millennium Falcon? Oh, you remember that? It's like, oh gosh, like I mean, it could be. I get what you're saying. Like, it could be funny, it could be cool, but after a while, if that's all you're doing, it's just like, all right, you're just riding off the coattails of jokes that the internet has made into a meme.
I didn't expect like new canon SpongeBob, but like just I don't know, just be funny, and it just seems like the writers on staff are not good at being funny.
They need new writers. Hire Tyler to write the next SpongeBob game. He
I
will
don't. I'm
come
not saying
in.
I'm the person to write it, but like I don't know. Also, I don't know if I can be worse than what I just played as far as the jokes. So yeah,
Fine. So then, if you don't want to be a writer, just let them hire you as a consultant. Let them pass the script over your
yeah. I'll
desk
just be like, I'll
first.
tell you if this is a good joke or not.
It'll pass by your desk first. You can give it the thumbs up, the or the thumbs down, and then they just go from there. All right. That'll also be a nice side hustle right there.
Sounds
Nice side
good.
hustle.
Hire me on.
All righty. That's going to wrap up this episode of the Play to Win podcast, especially before my internet decides to say, you know what? We're just going to be absolutely terrible, even more. um, thank you all so much for watching and or listening to this episode of the Play to Win podcast. Check out the site playtowingames.wordpress.com, home for all of our content. I didn't even say this. Yeah, I didn't play anything this week. Reason being, it's a very long, elaborate reason, to be quite honest. Essentially, as I've said before, whenever I'm
Excuses.
reviewing
No.
whenever I'm reviewing a game, I tend to focus only on that game and not play anything else until I'm done with the review for that game, or at least until the review is done being written. High Five Rush's review, it's still not being done written. It was giving me trouble for a couple different reasons, which has led me to then think about whether or not I'm gonna finish the review for it or do a review for Spoken because of that, and just a couple other outside reasons as well, and all. So I didn't play anything this week. But I am going to play the Sea of Stars demo at the very least. I wanted to play it before today. I just didn't get a chance to do it before we recorded. Um, so I will definitely play that before next week's episode. And I intend to start Forspoken. Whether or not the Hi-Fi Rush review comes out is up for debate at this point. It's up in the air. Um, because I'm at a point where it's like right now, I want to do it, I do, but there's other things I also need to focus on. And I don't know if I could just like keep dedicating time to finishing this when my time to even work on it is also limited as well. So that's where I am with that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Chances are it's just going to be a drop in the bin, drop of the bin, just toss it. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. If it comes out, it comes out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Sorry to anyone who's looking forward to it, but I'll make that the final decision will be known. And once the final decision is known, if I'm not going to do it, I'll say the score I would have given it on like future episode. Um, but that's where I am with my stuff. Back to closing this episode out though. Twitter and Instagram at Play to Win Game. Follow us over there, updates on the show and all that jazz. Subscribe on YouTube and on podcast services. 5-star reviews. Let us know in the comment section down below what games you want to see get remakes from back in the day. Any game from the PS1 generation on, or even older than that. You know, if you want to see it get a remake.
No, I was going to say, get that Super Nintendo shit out of here.
No. You can go back to Super Nintendo times. Only reason I didn't do this, I have no frame of reference for any of those games. So, and yeah, that's about it. Where can people find you, Tyler?
Good Game We Lost on TikTok, Instagram, and here on YouTube.
Nice. And you can find me on Twitter at Tyler Miller 2496. Yeah, that's about it. Oh yeah, one last thing. You could see in the back corner here, I have something new.
Oh yeah, your shelf.
My display case, my detailed display case over there. I posted pictures of it on my Twitter. So if you follow me over there, you will have seen it already. But the top shelf, the top two shelves are all Kingdom Hearts stuff. The third shelf is some comic and anime characters, and the bottom shelf, my Spider-Man, PlayStation 4, and Last of Us Part 2 Collector's Edition statues on the bottom shelf down there. Super cool. If you want to check it out, follow me on Twitter, TylerMiller2496. Post pictures are over there. That said, thank you all so very much for watching and or listening, and we'll talk with you all next time. See you later.
Have a good one, everyone.